Now, 7 out of 10 of you say that the Sonos One replacement will be here soon. Now, I asked you guys what you would like Sonos to release within the next couple of weeks in the upcoming announcements, which will be due anytime soon, and 7 in 10 of you says that it will be the Sonos One or even the Sonos Play 3 replacements with upward firing speakers. Now, Sonos, if you are watching this now, it should give you a very big clue as to what the market wants. But we know that the plans for the next product release is already out and we can't change anything at the moment. Just so that you know, you will make 70% of the market very happy should you release the Optimo line of products. Now, I don't know what is to be released, but based on my understanding and my obsession over Sonos and all your products, the new Optimo series should be a very good guess. Now, the Optimo is a code name that has been floating around for half a year by now, and although I would like to think that Optima, maybe it sounds like a nicer name, but hey, their product, their name, whatever it is, we know that it will be a new era of speakers from Sonos. So what is this Optimo or the Optima speaker? Like, nobody knows for sure. Now, even I don't, right? Let's just piece a few pieces of evidence and clues gathered over the last couple of months. Now, a year ago, Sonos finalized the acquisition of Mayeth. So Mayeth is an audio tech company that has some tech that is able to miniaturize speakers to 1/10 of the physical volume. Now, and that is still keeping the sound production capabilities the same. 1/10 in volume, that will roughly translate to about half of every dimension in height, width, and depth. Meaning to say, they will be able to produce the Sonos 5 level of bass and sound quality in a speaker that is roughly the size of a Sonos One, or roughly there, right? If that were to be true, then this is really quite something. Or they could, in theory, squeeze more drivers into a chassis the size of the Sonos Ones and make those drivers perform Atmos duties by firing the drivers upwards. Now, some of you might already have seen some leaked pictures of the Optima speakers. They look nothing like the current ones. In fact, they might actually look closer to the Play 3s, right, in terms of size, except that it doesn't just fire the sounds in the forward direction. So whether it's a 360 or a 2-dimensional front and upward firing speaker layout, it remains to be seen. After all, those pictures were just line art concepts. But in my opinion, they will likely release probably 2 speakers. Now, maybe not at the same time, but the Optima line should at least consist of 2 speakers. One of them will be the Sonos One replacement, which will be, by now, feature the upward firing transducer. This should retain roughly the same dimension as the ones, be standing upright, and it comes in 2 colors, without surprise, in black and in white. Now, the other should be a Sonos Play 3 rather, replacement. Now, it should feature more of a horizontal layout. I suspect more front-firing speaker cones, but still features upward-firing cones built into the top of the speaker. Again, both in black and in white finishing. But neither will be a refresh of any current speakers. They will be a completely new line, but it should work seamlessly with existing setups that you have. Now, either of them, if they do come with upward firing speakers, should lend extra Atmos capabilities to a Sonos home theater setup. Now, most competitors are now featuring upward firing speakers for rear surround channels, and Sonos cannot afford not to keep up with this trend. Now, note that it will only work with the Sonos Beam Gen 2 and the Sonos Arc. Those are the only 2 soundbars from Sonos that is capable of accepting and processing Atmos through the HDMI ARC or eARC port. The Beam Gen 1 and the Sonos Ray, together with the M, will not process Atmos and thus render any speakers with upward firing rear speakers cones useless, right? They will still work, but you're not going to get through upward firing sounds from them. And when paired with the Sonos Beam Gen 2, you will get actual upward firing speakers. As the Beam Gen 2, while Atmos capable, it doesn't actually have real upward firing speakers. Now, the Sonos Arc has upward firing speakers, and when paired with this new line of speakers, we'll then get 4 actual upward firing cones in the setup. Now the ARC might be due for a refresh quite soon, but these new surround speakers will probably keep it relevant for a while more before that happens. There are other rumors saying that these speakers will be Bluetooth capable and will be able to accept USB inputs from a PC or a Mac, which makes them capable of performing as PC speakers with any existing systems out there. Now I can't comment on these as I feel that it is pretty unlikely that Sonos will add Bluetooth to their current offerings or their setup. There is the Sonos Roam and there's the Move. Then they have Bluetooth, and those are positioned as portable speakers. Now these won't be portable, and I really doubt that Sonos will add Bluetooth here. Now that said, if they do, it is probably a welcome move. Now as for USB connectivity, it is not that it has been ever seen before on any Sonos device. Even if the Sonos Roam and the Sonos Move, they have a USB-C port, it is only used for charging. Now there is a remote possibility there, but I just think that it is unlikely to happen. That's it. If it does come true, it will open up a series of connectivity options for PCs and Macs, even if it goes against the principle of being wireless. Now the question that all of us will have is, how much will these cost? Now currently, the Sonos One costs about $200. The Sonos 5s that I have, they cost about $500, just below $500. There is quite a nice small gap in between. And I can only imagine that the smaller new speakers that will look like the One replacement will cost right about $300, and the bigger Play 3 replacement will cost about $400. And then you have a series of speaker offerings from Sonos that will range all the way from $200 and $500 with a $100 gap in between each of them. Now there is another possibility that they are priced at a premium instead of just being gap fillers between $200 and $500. Now if that's the case, the justification from Sonos has to be hugely increased sonic performance. Now in either case, it's all good news. If they do have something in between, more power of choice to us users. If they price it at a premium, I'll really be keen to know what Sonos has up their sleeve that is going to perform better than the Sonos 5s and justify them charging even more than the Sonos 5 if they do, right? So if you look at the product launches over the last 2 years, you will notice a trend. In 2021, the Sonos Roam was launched. Later that same year, the Beam Gen 2 was released, adding Atmos support to the lower-end soundbar from Sonos. At that point in time, there was only the Beam and the Arc. In 2022, there was then the Sonos Ray, meaning to say Sonos actually went down even further down the rung and released the cheapest soundbar from Sonos to date. And that last product launch of the year towards the end of last year was for the Sonos Sub Mini. Again, a cheaper offering than the Sub Gen 3. Now, all the products will focus on the low and maybe the mid-range stuff. More of the low-end stuff. The last high-end product was actually in 2020 with the Sonos 5s and the Sonos Arc released within the same year. The Sonos Sub was also refreshed at the same time to Gen 3. Now, those are the highest-end products available from Sonos today. Now, from this series of events, it will be fair to say that Sonos has not taken care of its higher-end market for quite some time by now. Now, if I were to take a stab at guessing what Sonos is going to be announcing next, it should be quite clear that it will be a high-end product. Now, the Sonos lineup is in need of a jolt to bring it up to par to the competition. The Sony A9 is almost revolutionary, taking the form of not a soundbar. The Bose Soundbar 900 is quite a keen competitor to the Sonos Arc. Now, new offerings like the Nakamichi Dragon soundbar seems to be chipping away at the top end of the market and pushing prices up. Now, even Apple has relaunched the HomePods 2, now in its second generation HomePods 2. It is not a sonically superior product to the Sonos 5, but it is more of a premium offering over the Sonos One. And Sonos has no 3s to get in direct competition with the HomePods 2. Well, they have the Play 3, but it is 10 years old by now. Now, if Sonos still doesn't come up with a way to entice and keep that segment of the market, it is going to lose all the cash to its competition. By the time they wise up to it, most of its top-tier customers like you would already have put the money elsewhere. So I have no doubt that Sonos will be launching something that is going to cost a pretty penny, no longer budget stuff. And at the same time, probably introduce something revolutionary, either in terms of sound quality or from a feature set perspective. Now, if this is from a feature set perspective, it is going to come both in a form of hardware and software working together. Meaning to say, Sonos need to release new hardware and enable software features that will allow these hardware features to be maximized. Like, for example, enhanced support for more Atmos heights channel, which hopefully will spill over and allow support of through ceiling speakers for Atmos. For example, if you could use the Sonos ones, mount them up in a ceiling or high up, and let those take the signals, the Atmos heights channels from the soundbar to playback as real Atmos channel speakers. And speaking of software, it leads us to firmware updates. Now, Sonos had a bad year with software releases last year. It had one botched up job. Version 14.12 was a complete disaster, and it wasn't until 14.18 that they recovered from that. TruePlay was broken, and bass from home theater setups with sub was horribly subdued by that hell of a release. So Sonos kept to a monthly update schedule. But the last update from Sonos came in December of 2022. The whole of January went past without an update, and we are already past the midpoint of February, and we aren't seeing an update yet. Now, if we still don't see an update by the last Tuesday of February 2023, it is going to be safe to say that we won't see an update in February anymore, and that Sonos has indeed given up trying to release on a monthly schedule. Now, I'm not a fan of monthly update if it means that they have to rush it out. The problem with the TruePlay was caused by a rush update, no doubt about that. But I think the real significance of not having an update up to this point in February might mean that they are preparing for a huge update down the line. The first update coming in 2023 should consist of new hardware support and possibly change the way some things work. Now, if my suspicion is correct, they could be incorporating changes to how Atmos works and it allowing for actual hardware speakers to be used as Atmos speakers. Now, please note that all these are purely speculations at this point in time. Today is the 19th of February. Sonos has always been tight-lipped about product releases, but if you are on this channel, you will know that I'm likely to be one of the first who will bring you any product announcements. And I will go real deep in an analysis to help you decide if you need to buy them. But really, who are we kidding? We all need them. And until the product announcements, stay tuned and I will bring you the news in a timely fashion. Now, if you are not yet already subscribed, please do so. Ring the notification bell and I will see you in that next product announcement. Now, if you need something to tide you over in the meantime, do check out my previous coverage of the Sonos Sub Mini, which was launched about half a year ago. See if you like my review style and I'll see you in that video.